Radiance machine? Is that
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, nice. Welcome to the 2 Decades Too Late podcast, everybody. I'm Brad, hanging out with Josh. This is the podcast where we review albums that are turning 20 years old, mostly metal for whatever it's worth. We rate the albums based on 4 parameters. We individually rate them 1 to 5 on each parameter, giving a total of 20 points up for grabs for each of us, with a total of 40 points available for the album as a whole.
Total.
See, I only said total once that time, and that's why I said as a whole.
I know. I saw the gears turning.
Yeah, I was like, don't say total again. Don't say total. This week, this is a weird one for me, turns out. I didn't know it was going to be, but it is. I'm surprised.
I'm scared. I want to say, that sucks, but, I don't know.
I was so pumped for this. So we listened to and will be reviewing Misery Signals of Malice and the Magnum Heart.
So fucking ready.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no.
We'll see how that goes.
All right. I don't want to get into it just yet.
Fair.
So Misery Signals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Misery Signals.
Yep. Formed in 2002 as kind of an amalgamation of several different bands from Madison, Wisconsin and Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Formation is a little bit tragic, actually, how it all came to pass. Actually, it's a lot tragic. It really is.
Very, very. Yeah, it's terrible.
So 7 Angels, 7 Plagues was it was mostly Misery Signals with a different singer. I mean, was it both Morgan brothers or just the one?
Just the one, which is funny because if you listen to 7 Angels, 7 Plagues, their drummer's worse, so I don't really get... That was some low-hanging fruit to miss, but...
No kidding.
Great band, by the way, and sounded like Misery Signals, but rougher.
And so Jesse was in a band called Compromise, and they were on tour together, and Jesse's band Compromise was involved in a car crash that killed 2 of the members of the band. And so the bands were kind of like dissolving at the time, and they all kind of liked each other and experienced that tragedy together. So Jesse joined up with, it was 7 Angels, 7 Plagues featuring Jesse for like a hot second.
Right.
And then kind of formed Misery Signals as a whole from that.
Yeah. I'm going to watch that today, by the way. Did you watch it, the documentary before?
Yeah.
What's it called again?
Yesterday Was Everything.
Yes. Yeah, okay. Yeah. That was the plan today, because I almost didn't want to watch it ahead of time, because I'm like, I already had a weirder experience than I expected listening to the album. And I'm like, I don't want to be more bummed out. So I'm going to watch that today. But yeah, very sad. Good that something positive came out of it.
Yeah.
Which is often the case. But it sucks that it had to happen in the way that it did.
Right. Yeah. So rounding out the rest of the band members, it's Jesse Zaraska as lead vocals, Ryan Morgan, lead guitar and backing vocals, which I've always loved his backing vocals, by the way. I'm glad he doesn't do it a lot. Oh, no.
I like his backing vocals more than I like Jesse's vocals.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like, that it hit me every time they happened, where I'm like, why don't you just...
do it?
Anyway.
Yeah. Stu Ross on rhythm guitar, Kyle Johnson on bass, and Brandon Morgan on drums. Brandon Morgan, by the way, one of the most he's not even rated as a drummer, and which is tragic, because he is so good. So creative, too.
He is possibly in the top 5 metalcore drummers. I'm sure, I know August Burns Red Dude's going to be in there, and there's some others.
I was thinking Matt Garska, for sure.
Yeah, but he was like 10 years old on this. Not really, but I mean, I think he was like 17 though. Like, I don't even think he was out of high school. Yeah. And his drums are just fucking bananas. Man.
Super fucking bananas.
Yeah. Yeah, and this was our introduction to them, like it was everyone else, because it was their first album.
Debut
this
album.
Is the one. Yep.
Released on Ferret Records. Interestingly enough, one of the reviews of the album kind of hits on like, man, Ferret is crushing the metalcore scene. Like, basically called them the artisan era of technical death metal, which didn't exist at the time, but that's what I would equate it to now.
Oh, for sure.
But
except I think Ferret kind of sucked because everyone seemed to leave as soon as they could. But they had the market cornered. It was them.
They did.
Trustkill had, I would say, Trustkill's B and then Roadrunner's C, because Roadrunner was more of just a metal. They had Killswitch though, and that always kind of put you. Yeah, but man, Ferret was fucking killing it back in the day.
They were. There's a lot more to this album that I really want to get into that I didn't know. And I've been a fan of this album for 20 years.
So one of the things I was going to say is, and I don't do this on purpose. I tend to talk a lot on these. And I always have some like, this album was the... I don't really have that with this album as much as I know you do. Like, so I was kind of... So do it. Tell me all the things. Because like... I know this is a big thing for you, and it was big for all of us at the time, but I know it stuck with you a lot harder than it stuck with me. And you followed Misery Signals, and I really didn't.
I did. And I always wanted there to be a follow-up to this album. They never really got there, which was unfortunate. They kept trying, but I mean, with all the bits that went into this album and reading some of the reviews and like, I could see why you could never top it or even match it, because it was written in it came out of such an amalgamation of like circumstances for these individuals.
Yeah, you can't replicate that.
Or
at least, can't. Man, you hope never to replicate that.
Especially being a debut album too, because you're setting a precedent on the back of like tragedy and emotion that you'll never get to that place again, probably.
Right. Do you think Absent Light is the closest? Like...
Yes. I would say Absent Light is the closest.
Because that's my favorite album of theirs.
Okay.
Because they kind of got all the stuff, like, in between this one and Absent Light, like, mirrors the... I will say Controller's really good.
I like Controller a lot.
Controller is super solid. Mirror's good. It's just the production sucks. And it's very distracting from the overall album. I hate that Ultraviolet is going to be their last.
I do and I don't. Like, I don't like it musically that it's going to be their last, but like I think it makes sense that they kind of closed the loop with Jesse.
Yeah, that's true. And unfortunately, though, he sounds maybe even worse on Ultraviolet. He does.
Like, there's no two ways about it, but like hopefully individually they all got like the catharsis and the closure that they
some sort of closure
wanted.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. And literally no argument whatsoever.
And actually, that's a good point. So if you're going to go back and watch the documentary today, you'll have a different lens and you can kind of keep an eye out for it. But
sick.
Like they kind of pepper in like the fact that they might do that. Like I think Ryan even says, he's like, yeah, I mean, the band kind of seems like it might dissolve anyway. So what's the harm in trying an album with Jesse?
Shit. Fair enough.
Yeah.
They are one of the bands. I forget. I don't know if you know. Do you know who Fluff is on YouTube? Bearded guy, does like guitar reviews and stuff. He's a really cool guy. If you haven't watched his stuff and you're listening to this, I would recommend it. He's got a really charming personality. He's just kind of cool. He does a rate or roast my rig, where people send him pictures of their rigs, and he gives them 1 through 5 beards, because his channel is riffs and beards. But he talked. Someone asked him about the new Tool album, and he said, I don't like Tool because there's something about a band where your entire existence is based on your fans and you giving them something to digest and you never doing it that bothers me. I feel that way with them a little bit, with Misery Signals, because it's like, what, 5 albums in 20 years is just not a lot.
It's not.
And why? Like, with home studios being as they are, Artisan era. They have no money. Those bands have no money. There's no way Technical Death Metal's paying all the bills. There's no fucking way. At least this band gets to go play Furnace Fest every year and probably make a couple $100,000. Like, fucking, I don't know. What's a really weird one of those bands? Can't even think of one. And Fairies, Demon King. Demon King's not making money. No fucking way. But they record really good sounding albums for probably $20. Or free at just time. They just have to spend the time.
Right.
Like, that's it. There's no way that they're not recording that at Malcolm Pugh's, like, bedroom. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way. So I never understood where... I mean, you have 2013 to 2020. And that's just a disservice to the fans that keep you going. I found myself being bothered by a lot about this band that I didn't know that I was bothered by until I started this. Anyway, go ahead, do your thing, because I'm in a good mood too. I just it bummed me out.
Yeah,
I don't know what, because I didn't want to be in this spot with them, because in my mind I love them to death.
Yes. I can never reconcile those two things, by the way, because I've always loved them. They've always been one of my favorite bands, but I don't like what they've produced.
Right.
By and large. It's like, I'll go to bat for them. Like, oh man, Misery Signals. Fucking love them, man. And then, like you said, like, one album every 5 years, and it's just like an okay album that's never scratching the itch. Like, I don't know why.
Like, I am probably never listening to Ultraviolet ever again unless it comes on shuffle. Like, that's the only way that's happening.
Yep.
And even that's 4 years ago now. Jesus Christ.
Dude, that was 8 years ago.
Ultraviolet?
Yes. It was 2016.
Oh, it says 2020 on there.
Oh, maybe oh yeah, you're right. It was 4 years ago. That makes way more sense.
I wouldn't have known what to do with that. Good. I needed that to be 2020, because 2016 would have blown my brains to smithereens.
But even more to your point, like, 2014 was when, like, they did the 10-year anniversary tour of Malice, and 2016 was when Jesse rejoined the band. So it took you, what, 4 years to write that album?
or even, well, I mean, Absent Light was 2013. You're telling me you didn't write anything in between those periods, whether Jesse was there or not? Right. You had nothing but downtime. Carl essentially left the band as soon as Absent Light was out. I mean, they barely even toured on that.
I know.
And, like, what are you doing? Like, I work a full-time job and write all kinds of music. An obnoxious, an obscene amount of music that I annoy you mostly with. And they're all more talented than I am. So, what? Anyway, they bother me, apparently. I just, anyway.
It is bothersome. Like, that's why, but it still didn't taint my my rose-colored glasses for this album in particular.
And I would rather it be that way. So, I mean, I prefer that to be the result.
So if anybody, well, I don't know why anybody would know this. I was just, if anybody doesn't know, but nobody would fucking know this. My PlayStation Network handle is the Magnum Heart. So it was that big of a deal to me at the time. Yeah. I still remember the album, like the CD. It's yellow with clouds. Super great. Yeah, really good. Yep. We got that basically when it came out. We saw them in 2003 with Charles. We went to Bogart's in Cincinnati, and they opened. No. It was 12 Tribes opened. They played after,
And then it was Every Time I Die. Then it was Dillinger. Then it was Zayo. Still probably the best show I've ever
It was really sweet.
seen.
Yeah.
And then we watched Courage Crew beat the living fuck out of a dude. Do you remember this?
I do.
That was terrifying. And Charles like saw it kind of happening and pushed us like the little children that we were to the side, like, hey,
Yeah. Shit's going down over here.
Let's move over to that side of the crowd, because that's not a pit opening up. That's people running away, and this guy not noticing that Courage Crew's just circling him. Oh, that poor guy. And probably all he did was drink.
Yeah.
Once. Those fucking douchebags. Tangent over. Yeah.
It was a really great show, though.
It was.
It was like, yeah, it was all these bands that we've reviewed so far, and it was amazing. Except Zayo, but they're on the list.
2004, August 17th, 2004.
Well, hot damn.
That was very easy to find, and I'm very
I'm amazed
I hate
by
that people keep calling Dillinger Depp.
Oh, yeah. That's obnoxious.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Moving on.
So diving into the album itself, because I assume you did, I assume you did listen to it.
I did. More than once, actually, yes, because I didn't believe... Yeah, more than once. I was surprised by my own reaction and gave it a second run-through.
Good. So it starts off with a victim. I never knew that there were so many guest vocal spots with the Matthew Mixon dude.
Same.
I like his backing vocals, and I had no idea that Devin Townsend was involved in this in any way.
No, and then you hear his voice, though.
Yeah.
Doing the kind of a whoa, backgroundy sort of thing. And it's so obviously Devin Townsend. He has such a unique voice. I'm shocked. And we are getting into the production on this album.
Yeah. Like, it took me 20 years to figure out that Devin Townsend was involved.
He's the producer.
I know.
And man, I have never, in all of the episodes that we've done, have more of an opinion about a production until this album. Sir. I have fucking opinions about the production on this album. And I refuse to blame Devin Townsend, because I've heard other things he's done.
Man.
We'll get into it. Anyway, I had no idea either.
We might have to just target. We'll go through the tracks and then we'll get into the review, because I'm so curious.
Yeah. A Victim of Target is a great intro to an album.
Amazing intro.
I think it absolutely gets you prepared for what's coming.
It does. Man, if you want to know how good Brandon Morgan is at drums, just that opening fill. Immediately.
It's interesting. The dude's a monster. Absolute monster. And he's so... he just does shit. Like, he does the stuff other people do, but, like, in a totally different way. Yeah, I mean, he's just so... You can almost... he'd probably one of those drummers that if he was in another, like, project and you didn't know and you heard it, you'd probably be like, yes. Like, I think this is the Misery Signals guy. But, yeah, Victim of Target, minute 51 seconds. Yeah, if you didn't know how good he was or what this band's all about, you can figure it out in less than 2 minutes. Like, you get a very clear picture. Right into In Response to Stars. Track 2, 340. Pretty good. I mean, this, I want to say that is a good second track, because I think it showcases all of their tools in the tool belt sort of thing.
It does, for sure.
And so, like, if you listen to track 1 and track 2 and you're good there, you got it. And then you like Misery Signals, you like this album, and you're going to be fine.
You may like this, you may not like Misery Signals.
True enough, because no other album sounds like this.
It really does not, and it's so unfortunate, but understandably so. And then, end of the year, Summer ended in June, which is kind of the tragic retelling of the car accident that Jesse was involved in. And he puts it all out there. He puts it all on paper. And it doesn't come across as, like, whiny or, like, overly overly emotional, even though it's just raw emotion in your face.
Yeah, it's very raw, but you're right. It doesn't sound. It almost weirdly doesn't sound sad,
Right.
and it has every reason to.
It does, yeah.
Is this the first track that I start getting on my high horse? I think it is. So first thing I do want to ask you now, since we're on the year, summer ended in June. We have in the last few episodes had a situation where there was a song that was unavoidable to be on a playlist. I expected the year summer ended in June to be another one of those. After getting through the album, I don't think
It's not. I don't think there is a song on this that you could say is like the song. I don't think this will be a 3-song edition.
Okay, cool. Because that's what I thought. Well, I was kind of ready to discuss that. I'm really glad you just agreed because it's the single. Like if you have heard a Misery Signals song, it's probably that one.
Right.
If it was in passing.
Because of what it is, I would say.
Yeah, agreed. In 2004, the whole talk vocal thing,
Okay.
I think we all thought that was adding a texture or layer to a song because it was different than screaming.
Right.
I now do not think that at all, and I think it's lazy and tacky, and drives me fucking insane. You're in a studio. You don't need to do that. If you did it live, I get it. You're tired. You're running around. You're doing whatever you got to do.
Yeah.
If you do feel the need to do that, maybe it's because you recorded 95,000 fucking vocal tracks for no goddamn reason. I hate the way the vocals are recorded on this album.
That's fair.
I think it does it an absolute disservice.
That was the number one criticism within the reviews was the talk singing. And like
It's
it was a 2004 thing.
It was.
It wasn't specific to Misery Signals. They just also did it. And some of the reviewers were like, yeah, he even did it worse than the people like that are doing it well.
Yeah, his is particularly terrible. I don't know why so many of his vocals are panned left and right and double tracked. No rhyme or reason either. There are times where it switches to center in spots that makes no sense and adds absolutely nothing to the situation, which if you're gonna double your vocal track and pan it left and right, you should do that to add color. Not like his whole thing is he was a bad vocalist. He was one of those people that had to like miss shows, just like Jesse from Kill Switch, because he didn't know what he was doing. None of us did. I'm not knocking him for that.
Right.
We didn't have YouTube videos literally teaching you how to do this in a healthy way, which I'm very grateful for. But like he was particularly bad.
Yeah.
And he was missing like every 5 or 6 shows. So, and then you record like 1,000 fucking vocal tracks, and there are times where you can hear his vocals are absolutely destroyed on this album, where they don't sound anything like they did even in the previous track. And it's like, well, no shit, because you've recorded 1,000 fucking vocal tracks. If you already have that as a weakness, why are you doing that?
Yeah.
And again, that there's no way Devin Townsend was like, hey, I really understand the 2004 metalcore scene. I think you should record a bunch of vocal tracks and pan them left and right all the time. There's no way that was his choice. You know what I mean? Like,
maybe he did the best he could.
That's what I'm.
Maybe that was the only way to get it to sound halfway decent to his ear.
Maybe. Yeah,
it's
that
funny
could be.
Because in the documentary too, like he's like, they're practicing again for the 10-year anniversary show, and he's like, yeah, we practiced yesterday. My voice is gone, so I'm not going to sing today or tomorrow, and then I'll do it again. So
it boggles my mind. And that's the year summer ended in June is when that really, like, I was sick of it at the end of that song.
Oh.
And I was like, boy, do I have a lot of songs left. Yeah. I just do the one. and then maybe you don't blow your vocals out, and maybe you don't. I don't know. Man,
So his vocals are obviously going to be a sticking point for you 20 years later on this album.
Very much so, yeah. I'm like, I can hear your sad, sad throat just crying out for help, and you're just not doing anything to...
In 2004, though, we're like, oh man, he's like screaming catharsis.
Yeah, I know. This did not age like a lot of the other things we've reviewed have for me. Because in 2004, I absolutely adored this album.
Yeah,
we listened to it nonstop. Anyway,
and the next song, In Summary of What I Am, like that's kind of where he was emotionally, it seems like.
Yeah. Seems like, yeah. He was in a tough spot, which...
He was in a tough spot.
Wouldn't we all be? Like, so I do get that.
Yeah, and then,
doesn't mean you should blow your vocals out.
They tour on this album. He's asked to leave the band at the tail end of the tour. He goes home to no girlfriend. So
yeah, that dude was in a fucking...
He was in dire straits.
Yeah.
And then you go on to the Stinging Rain. Super good track. Forgot how good song. Heavy that song is. Like the breakdowns are sick and clean.
Yeah, one of the best songs on the album at track 5. I do want to say though, in Summary of What I Am, when he says to fill me with every disappointment, I laughed out loud.
Yeah.
Like the way he says it is so stupid that fill me with every disappointment. Okay. All right, man. Calm down. Anyway, Stinging Rain, great track. Like one of the best, for sure.
Is the Stinging Rain the lyric that I sent you last night? I've always thought it was really funny that it goes from like, I whispered in her ear and drew her close, and then yells. It paints a really hilarious mental picture.
It really does, and I do believe that is...
Like, you know how, like, little kids try and whisper you a secret? They get really close to your ear and then talk at the same volume that they just were.
Yeah. That's exactly what that is. That's awesome. Oh, man. Man. Also, whoever mixed the talking vocals...
Oh, yeah, they're so forward.
Well, not just forward... There's no rhyme or reason to the volume at all. Like, one track, it's too loud. The next track, it's the loudest thing I've ever heard. And it's like, what is happening on this? I don't understand. Like, I don't know what happened behind his speaking vocal because you blasted it at me at like 1,000 decibels.
We're going to have to talk to Devin Townsend about this.
I would like to know, actually. And I did try finding something about it, and I could not. That was...
Just email him. He seems like he'd get back to you.
I will. I'm going to do that today. Because I spent probably 3 hours. The middle of my day was absolutely wrecked by me trying to find Devin Townsend talking about the production of this album. And he doesn't. I'm assuming because he doesn't want to. Well, we'll get into it. Not all of it's bad by any means.
Yeah. Because the next song's an instrumental.
The next song is beautiful.
It is beautiful. It's a 4-minute instrumental and is perfectly placed in the album, I think.
Yep. Perfectly placed. I do think the intro of it's a bit long. I don't think you needed to go quite that long before getting into the meat of it, but it doesn't matter. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just the musicality on that track with what the different guitars are doing, the ping pong match that's going on is just
a lot of guitar layering, a lot of different textures,
and none of it is arguing with the other. It's all complementary. It's just
so nicely done,
so well done. Track 6, if you don't like metal, it's all good. Listen to track 6. It will just make you happy, probably. There's nothing metal about it. Murder. I wish it was about crows. I don't think that it is.
That's too bad.
At track 7. At this point in the album, I must say, tracks started to sound kind of the same.
Yeah.
This is a band a little bit for me I don't know what it is with bands that have a tool belt with so many tools and still somehow find a way to repeat themselves a lot. I would say Between the Buried and Me is a good example of that. They have the largest tool belt in metal, arguably, and yet every album is just different shades of the last a little bit. It's all good. I mean, I have no problem with any of it, but
I guess when you choose to use every tool every time.
Yeah, good point. That's a very good... That answers my thought perfectly.
All right, there you go.
Because I have the question in my notes. Like, I just don't know what causes that. That causes that. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm glad we talked about it.
Yeah. On
very
account of
angry
absence
song.
again. Murder?
Yeah, very angry. He is pissed, and his vocals are totally shot on that track specifically, and it actually works a little bit because he's so mad. I don't know what he's mad about, but he's pissed, and his absolutely
Moida.
His just decimated throat is just on full display.
Probably the angriest Canadian that's ever lived.
Is he Canadian? Like
he is. Yeah.
Is he? So on one of the. I can't remember which one. I tried to find those pictures, Jordo. When he says that, it sounds so Canadian, and I never noticed. And I was trying to find if he was Canadian, and by try to find, I mean I looked at the wiki and it didn't really say, and I gave up. But
oh really?
I was like, is he? I know that some of the people in the band aren't, or at least one of them.
Yeah.
But. Okay, good. Because I was like, am I making it sound Canadian? Because I think he's Canadian, or does it sound Canadian?
The Morgans are from, Wisconsin.
Ah, got it.
And, so Seven Angels, Seven Plagues was Wisconsin-based, and Compromise, I think, was Canadian-based, because Jesse and I think Stu are Canadian.
Yep. Yeah, because he's in Comeback Kid, too, who is also a Canadian band.
Oh, sick. Yeah.
Yeah. God,
Devin Townsend, also Canadian.
Yeah. Okay. You know what?
Yeah.
Dots connected. That makes me feel like this is more reasonable than I previously thought that it was.
Yeah, I was shocked that they had access to Devin Townsend and the guy who did the album artwork, who we'll talk about when we get to the album art, probably. But,
sick.
Yeah.
On account of absence, yeah, you already said track 8. I like that the pace is a little quicker on it. Mm-hmm. I kind of needed that to happen when it did. So the gang vocal is produced terribly. Every gang vocal on this album sounds completely different. None of the it sounds like everyone was done with a different group of people, which I guess is fine, but it also sounds like each one was produced differently and mixed differently, and again, it's just a lot of inconsistencies that I wouldn't expect with the particular group. Now, Devin Townsend did not do mixing and mastering. He just did production. He didn't do engineering either.
Okay.
That probably explains why the drums sound so good, even if they are a bit raw. But I guess we'll get into that. Yeah. The one call out I have at this point in the album, they are the absolute king and queens of... Am I going to go into a breakdown? Sounds like I'm going to go into a breakdown. Nope, not going into a breakdown.
Sick.
Nobody does it. Like, I mean, they do it so much, and it's cool, but, like, give me, like, 4 more breakdowns. Yeah. It's like, you really wet my whistle, like, 19 times a song, and it's like, oh, they're doing the chug, the gallop thing, the snare, it's coming. Nope, right into a chord part that sounds weird, and we are off to another thing. So.
Man, I'm going to have to listen to this album again, just through your lens.
Dude, they do it so much. I'm like, and I'm starting to get irritated. This song specifically. It happens like, I want to say 4 times in track 8. Where I'm like, listen, I mean, it's a cool move. It's a cool move, especially in 2004, because everyone else is just going into a breakdown. So, like, I get the reasoning behind it, but, like, give me one more.
Yeah.
Like, just, like, they put breakdowns in spots where I never see it coming, and then they build up for 20 seconds like you're going into one, and then you go into this weird, like, upside-down 5th power chord thing, and it's like, Okay, well, I don't know what's happening. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's a cool move. It's just give me like 10%.
Give me the breakdown. Yeah.
Yeah, give me one every once in a while. Like I'm ready for it, and you're just letting me down. Anyway, 5 years.
5 years.
It's
Amazing.
just, yeah. I don't even really. I almost can't talk about it as much as I want because we're gonna have to decide favorite songs later, and I don't want to.
I think so. They do a lot of guitar layering throughout the album, but I think it's especially prevalent on this song and especially well done.
It's masterful.
Always loved the riff at the end.
When that comes in, it never doesn't give me goosebumps. It's given me goosebumps for 20 years.
Yeah.
This is the track that remains on playlists for me.
Yeah. It's so good. I'm always surprised that the album didn't end there. I love Difference of Vengeance and Wrongs, but I'm surprised that it's at the end. And even here at all. Like, the album would have been phenomenal to just end on 5 years, I think.
I could not agree more, and that exact sentiment is in my notes. I don't really... I love, like you said, I love track 10.
Yeah. Could have been like a bonus track or a B-side or something.
Or even pull like a 1995 Korn Deftones thing and have it be like a secret track. You know what I mean? Or something.
Yep.
It'd be really cool. At least give me the illusion that the album ended on 5 years, because there was no sense in it not ending there.
Correct.
They're also, in addition to being the kings and queens of building up to a breakdown that never happens, they really like starting songs with an intro.
Yep.
Before getting to like a part. 5 years is the best one of those. It might be the best intro in metalcore, in my opinion. It's off time in a cool way that still like vibes well, and I don't have a note. I could talk about 5 years for the rest of the day. It's like a perfect song.
There's nothing bad about it, apart from maybe your opinion on his vocals, depending.
Well, that's the only. He doubles the vocals and pans them for almost that entire track.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's like 99% of that track. It's worse than any other song on the album, and it's so sad. It makes...
Yeah. If you got something to say, you might as well say it twice.
Yeah, especially if you're really good at your vocals and you're not blowing them out all the time. You might as well record everything more than once. Idiot.
But then the album does end on Difference of Vengeance and Wrongs, which I've tried for 20 years to find information about this guest vocalist, Byron J. Ellis dude. Nothing's ever come up.
There are whole Reddit threads about him because of this album.
Okay,
yeah.
Sick.
I found more than one. No one knows who this fucking guy is.
That's so bad. I was hoping they're chock full of information.
No, it's a bunch of people going, fuck, who is this person? And that's it. I mean, I'm sure it's out there. I didn't go there. Honestly, there are so many Reddit threads about this exact thing that I didn't look at them all. Because I kind of just assumed no one knew. But I'm sure it's out there. It probably exists. Everything does. But man, this dude
I love that he's featured so heavily too. He's not a guest vocalist. Like, this was a song that Jesse's the guest vocalist on this song.
Jesse's barely in it. I mean, he's in it for maybe like 15 total seconds. This guy just sings this song. Odd choice too.
Super weird choice. And to end the album.
I don't know how good I'm feeling going on to a tour when my band chose another person to sing the longest track on the album, and I clearly blew out my vocals multiple times while recording the album. Better go on tour, and then get kicked out at the end.
Man, what a different world it would have been. Like, I'm trying to imagine Misery Signals with that vocalist. Like, what more of that would have sounded like.
I gotta tell you, wouldn't have pissed me off as much as all the fucking double tracks. No chance. It may have been worse, but I would have been less stressed out. So selfishly, I would like to have taken that road. It would be odd. The dude's got a sick voice. It's very unique. I mean, do more stuff, man. Get with that drummer from Unhallowed and do stuff. Like,
man. Yeah.
I mean, why not? We keep talking about all these like elusive, mysterious characters that were gone in the night in the middle of the early 2000s. It's like, you're all talented as fuck. Like, and we have so many not talented people right now doing things.
Yeah.
It's a cool song if you want to listen to another song that really isn't metal for the most part. I mean, there are a couple moments that are heavy-ish, but if it's 6 minutes and 35 seconds, I would say 6 minutes of that are not heavy. But it's very well done. It's very beautifully written.
Yep.
Also, why did they spell the word "and" on track 10 and then use an ampersand for track 6?
I don't know. Maybe it's because one has vocals and one doesn't.
Maybe. By this point in the album, I was bothered about so many things that also bothered me a great deal.
Never would have noticed.
Oh, I noticed.
All right.
Boy, did I. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's kind of the track by track. Do you have any thought? I know you have thoughts on the album overall. Any, before we get into the review, any kind of things you want to say about that we haven't already hit on, I guess?
All kidding aside, it's a very good album. There are things that bother me about it, but holistically it is good. I think that Shai Hulud influence shines pretty heavily throughout, which I dig because I don't think a lot of bands have that. And which I wish we had more of. I think Shai Hulud is just going to be a sleeper for eternity, and I don't really get that. But I think there's no way. I mean, I didn't look into it to see if they've ever referenced it, but there's just no way you can make a music that sounds like this and not be influenced by Shai Hulud at least a little bit.
One of the reviews actually touched on like that particular influence.
Cool, because it's. I don't want to say it's like obvious, like they're ripping them off or anything, but like Shai Hulud did this first. They did it in a different way. It's not the same, but I'm glad that it exists in the way that it does. We just don't have a lot of bands that sound like that. Bands tend to go really far in either direction. Otherwise, it's very rare that we get a chaotic and melodic band that harmonizes both pretty well. But no, that's about it. I say it's review time.
Yeah, you think?
Review! What did you think of the artwork?
I've never really actually thought about it, but I gave it a 5. I really do love it. It's never been bothersome to me. It's kind of quintessentially synced with this album in my mind. It looks like there's different bits of like all the song, the lyrical content, kind of the overall concept. That's gotta be Jesse's body on the front.
Yeah, I could see that. I didn't think about that, but now that you say it, it seems
kind of looks like his build.
Yeah.
And also, one of the reviews brought this up. I don't think he was credited on like the additional personnel or anything. Oh no, he is. Travis Smith for illustrations. So Tom B. There's a lot of letters there. Is credited with art direction, concept design, and layout design. But Travis Smith, look him up if you want to know anything about how to do an album art. He's massive. Catatonia, Opeth, Iced Earth, the Nightmare, the Avenged Sevenfold Nightmare cover. He's everywhere in the metal space. Another thing that I'm shocked that this little band from Madison, Wisconsin and Alberta, Canada had access to, probably through Devin Townsend, but like there was some heavy hitting involved in the creation of this album.
Who runs Misery Signals Wiki? Whoever it is sucks.
Yeah,
because this person isn't even linked.
No.
Oh my god. Oh, you must have searched this on our login because it popped right up.
Yeah.
Man, holy fuck. This might hurt my review of this album cover.
Damn.
Because this guy is better than this. I mean, the Death Sound of Perseverance album cover is one of the best album covers I've ever seen in my entire life. I don't even know what it is, but it's fucking sick. Like, wow. Man, this guy is... Oh, you just blew my fucking mind. How is this guy not linked? Can I do that? Can I link this guy?
Probably.
I'm going to do that. When we're done, I'm going to go into their wiki and I'm going to link this fucking guy because...
That's the right call.
It's criminal.
It is.
He did something wicked. This way comes?
Yeah.
God damn.
It's like, it's nuts.
Oh my god, this guy did everything. Everything that the melodic death metal, black metal guy didn't do, this guy did.
Yeah.
Or the bass player from Killswitch. Those three people did every album cover. Oh my god. He did. Okay, we gotta move past this.
I thought you'd like that.
Wow. This is the longest credited of anything ever I've ever seen on a wiki page. Oh my god.
I'm really glad I found that in the review too. Because it's not linked. I would have never gone in search of Travis Smith.
Well, the reason I didn't look into it is because his fucking name's Travis Smith.
I know.
I just assumed he's not linked and his name's Travis Smith. I'm never going to find anything about this guy.
Turns out
you can.
Yeah, really easy. Not like a Byron J. Ellis situation.
My God. Well, when you do every fucking album between 1998 and 2019.
Yeah.
Jesus. Oh my God.
So what do you think of what did you think before you knew that?
I am just, this has just completely sidelined my entire brain. So I don't know. There are things I don't like about it. I don't like the font choices, really. I don't like that they don't have a band logo and then they just chose like capitalized block font with shadow on it. I don't love that. I don't get what they're going for. It's almost like simultaneously too on the nose and too metaphorical. And I can't decide which it's trying to land on. So, I mean, I landed on a 3. I don't have anything like I super dislike the font. I don't like the fonts. But other than that, it's fine. I don't like, it seems like they're trying a lot. He's got like puppet strings.
He does.
And it's like, it's just it seems like they couldn't decide. I already said it. It's either too on the nose or it's not on the nose enough for me. So I ain't on a 3. It's not like hateful or anything. You're right. If I think of early 2000s metalcore, odds are fairly decent that this album art will be top of mind because it is so iconic.
Yeah.
But, 20 years later, I don't know if the iconic part equates to quality for me necessarily,
that's
but
fair.
It does stand out. Like, I mean, I'll never forget it.
Yeah.
It's one of those, but I took, again, at this point, I was dissecting everything really, really hard. Because I was bothered by so many choices, and then every choice became like a mountain for me to climb.
I didn't review any of this objectively, by the way. I just want to throw that
nor should you. I mean, do you know how many times my rating, there's no, if say people ever actually listen to this,
right.
we will, or at least I will be, I know for sure.
Thank you to the 8 that do.
Yeah, we love you dearly. But there's no chance you're not going to be able to listen to different episodes and find me being wildly inconsistent and giving different ratings to essentially the same thing.
That's right.
And I thought I was going to be, like, I went into this like, this is going to be subjectivity city.
Yep.
And that's all there is to it. And then all you have to do is double those vocals and pan them left to right real hard one too many times. And I apparently become just a nightmare. So landed on a 3.
Just peeled back the layers.
Yeah. I really attacked this thing with all my might for some reason. So, unlike next week episode, not the same thing.
Nope.
Did not do that there. Anyway.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm just going to say that I gave the production a 5, and then I want you to talk about what you thought about the production.
Okay. Fair enough. Honestly, a lot of what my thoughts are kind of already came out.
I'm pretty specific to the vocals, too, because the guitars are masterfully done. The drums are really well done. The bass is there. But the vocals are an issue.
Yeah, the frequencies are perfect. Nothing is drowning out anything. It is not muddy. Albeit it is dated. I am a little surprised with the then versus now that you landed on a 5, just because
I think it sounds as raw or maybe unpolished as it did in 2004.
Yeah, that's fair. It's just like their whatever album that was, Absent Light, like if you were to listen to the production on that, it is one of the best productions.
That's true, yeah.
Maybe in the genre. And I helped fund that, by the way. I never got my fucking record. Dicks. I'm kidding. I didn't even really care that much about it. I didn't have a record player, so I don't even know why. I don't even know why I chose that as
what am I going to do?
Things.
Buy a record? I don't need any of your green money.
Santa's after you. You're right. The drums are raw, but I think sound really good. Like if you're gonna, I like very produced drums, and I know that is a divisive opinion.
Right.
But if you're gonna do raw drums, make them sound like that. That's the way to do that.
Absolutely. Like you can hear, you can kind of guess what his setup is by the sound of his drums.
100%. It sounds like he also picked a kit that was just good, or Devin maybe had whatever. Really nice. However that worked. Guitar tone is so good. It's so heavy with being so clear at the same time. So they were ahead of their game with that. So it is good, but I landed on 3 just because I can't stand the vocals. I can't. And nothing else is inconsistent. Everything else is consistent.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't think it was anyone's fault other than the vocalist. I'm firmly blaming his lack of ability and them trying to essentially polish a turd.
Right.
With like, well, we better turn that up loud because we had to double track that last thing, and the only way it's going to sound equal is if we turn it up way too loud. And oh, well, on the next track it's not loud enough, or it's too loud, so we have to turn it down. Like, so I think they were just doing the best that they could with what they have, and you can tell that the rest of the band still is very, very good at what they do. Yeah. And they probably didn't need the assist like Jesse clearly did. I'm so glad they kicked him out after this. Like, I don't know if I could have. I didn't even follow them. That controller is so good. This controller I found, because I listened to all their albums yesterday.
Sick.
I found to be another Portrait of a Goddess situation, where apparently when I used to drive from South Vienna to Dayton a lot, I must have listened to that. I think I listened to that album a lot in my car because I know I knew that album better than I knew this album. Very odd thing to,
because I don't remember you liking Controller that much.
Yeah, I must have, because man, it's very, very good, and the production on that is just very, very good. Impact at the time, I assume
it's a total 5. Yeah,
total 5.
It's a total 5. Like I wanted to do everything like Misery Signals. I learned some of the riffs on guitar, which I don't play. I could never play the drum parts, so I stuck with the guitar because some of it was more accessible.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's my PlayStation handle. Like, it was my... Was it ever my email? It might have been an email address at one point. Like, this album kind of ruled my life. Fair.
And I knew that. That's why, like...
It's a 5.
it was an odd feeling listening to it with the thought of you in the back of my head. I'll give it a 4. It's pretty close to a 5. At the time, I had none of these issues. This is why we're doing what we're doing the way that we're doing it, because we have a different perspective on things now. At times, sometimes we don't, like Winter Sun, and like you with this. I mean, I was never giving it Winter Sun anything less than a 5 for everything. That was never happening. Right. So no, I get it. So 4 though, I mean, I went out and bought white Asics because of the music video. Jesse's wearing those in there.
Hell yeah.
I mean, I learned how to add different notes to power chords to make them sound more interesting. That was their doing. I think this is the band that taught me how to do the upside down power chords. I'm not sure what those are called. It was between this album and Bleeding Through's on Wings of Lead, because that whole riff is based on those. But 4. I don't really have. The only reason I didn't give it a 5 is because I know it didn't mean as much to me as it did to you. That was literally in my notes. I'm like, I can't. It would be a 5 if I was doing this with anybody else. It would be a 5.
I mean, mine could be a 10, and yours could still be a 5.
Yeah, I've read. Well, enjoyed listening today. I mean, are you giving it the full sweep?
I'm giving it the clean sweep, because I still enjoyed. Like, I know the issues with Jesse's vocals, but like 2004 me can't hear those, so 2024 me can't hear those because they're so deeply rooted back in 2004.
I have literally zero issue with that. I landed on a 3, and I was sad. I was very sad about it. It was very disappointing. I didn't like myself very much yesterday. I'm like, what is like,
man, I'm really letting the team down here.
Because I in theory, I love this album. It meant the world to us in 2004. I mean, there's no way around it. It's just like, the amount of a disservice that his vocals did to this album for me it's almost incalculable. I mean, it's not. It's actually very calculable, because I landed on a 13 and you landed on a 20.
It was a -7 for his vocals.
Yep. And honestly, with the album art, I teetered between a 3 and a 4. It's not bad. It's either lost on me or it's too not lost on me, one or the other, and I don't know which one it is. All right, so 20 for Josh, 13 for me, 33 total. Still stacks up pretty well, even with my strange negativity. I've never disliked my opinions so much. As you know me very well, I normally don't just like my opinion. I pretty much swim in it and live in it. But I hated my opinion.
You should.
Yes, I really didn't like it yesterday when I was listening to this. But well done on those. What is your favorite song on the album?
My favorite song on the album, God, it's a toss-up, honestly, between 5 Years and Difference of Vengeance and Wrongs. But I've always just been so enamored with Byron J. Ellis's vocals that it's gonna tip toward Difference of Vengeance and Wrongs.
Well, I was gonna ask you too if you didn't, so I could choose 5 Years. All right, so we got 5 Years and Difference of Vengeance and Wrong. It's pretty good. That's an I'm glad that was my other pick. So we had the exact same 2 picks. That's not very strange. I
mean, but Worlds and Dreams, like, I was really close to picking it. I only didn't because it's an instrumental, so it doesn't really give the full range of what this CD has to offer. It does musically, for sure. And, even the emotions there, but to his credit, Jesse writes some pretty decent lyrics.
His lyrics are great. Yeah. Too bad he sucks as a vocalist. I'm kidding. He's not that bad. It was just the choices bothered me more than his actual vocals did. Stinging Rain was a pretty close runner-up, too. I really do like Stinging Rain
a lot.
Super
good. This album overall does have just a ton to offer, like, musicality-wise. It pushed a lot of envelopes. Some of the reviews kind of sum it up pretty well by saying, like, My personal opinion was that it kind of toes every line that it's kind of aiming toward without overstepping any of them, which is pretty cool.
That's that's well said. That's dead on, pretty much. Yeah.
Something in the reviews kind of touched on like them not overextending themselves musically. Like they were still pushing boundaries, but they were going there like super confidently. Like we can kind of go in this because there's some weird time signatures. Yep. There's some different song structure. Like you said, they've got a lot of tools that they use.
Yeah, and they did it in a very Canadian way that I don't understand what's in the water up in Canada. I guess when Rush is your first big band, then the bar's set pretty high. But they're one of those bands. A lot of bands back in the day in early metalcore were trying to do those things, and it was obvious. There are different time signatures and key changes and things like that aren't obvious.
No,
and that's masterful to do it in a way that still rhythmically makes sense. It's a very good job.
It's as interesting as Blood Has Been Shed, just comes out differently.
Yeah, they do it in a way that still has a melody that is pleasant to hear, whereas Blood Has Been Shed is kind of an assault.
Right.
So also I realize we haven't been doing this, but I guess at this point it almost doesn't matter, but I'm pointing it out because maybe it does in this particular instance. This album was released June 1st, 2004. I think the last time we pointed that out was Behemoth, just because it came out in different countries at different times, and I feel like we've forgotten that over the last, 10 episodes.
We may have.
Yeah, which, whatever. I don't know how important it is, but in this instance, though, is it? It may be important. That seems like a choice.
It does, yeah. I mean, a year after that, because the wreck was in 2003, I think.
Yeah, and that was the year ended in June.
Yep.
So you bring out an album about that tragedy on June 1st, 2004.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
That is interesting, at the very least.
Especially figuring... albums used to come out on a Tuesday, didn't they? Was that normal?
Yeah.
All right. Well, maybe that makes it a little less odd. I was going to say, I was hoping that it was on a total... Because I know it's Tuesdays and Fridays, generally?
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so worth pointing out because June seemingly matters to them. So
it does.
But... I will be adding, as always, the favorite songs to the TDTL favorites playlist on Spotify. If you want to check that out, ever growing. I'll just keep calling out Mick for giving me the heads up to not ruin it like I was. And check us out on Instagram if you so choose at TDTL_podcast. And, listen to Of Malice and the Magnum Heart by Misery Signals if you're into such a thing. It's a very good album, despite my critiques. I think it's still the sum... What am I trying to say? Greater
than the sum of its parts?
Greater than the sum of its parts, yes. Even with the vocals being a sticking point for me, the album is still an overall piece of work that is very well appreciated and ahead of its time.
And it's entirely possible that you're not hip to Misery Signals if you're listening to this, because they kind of
weirdly
have flown under the radar.
Yes. And now they're gone, pretty much. This is the...
This is it.
Bon voyage. Yep.
Which...
All right.
It's fine.
It is fine. Well, when you never release anything, what's the difference? I mean...
That's true.
I hate to say it, but it's I'm 37 years old. I don't go to a lot of shows. And I'm your original demographic and fan. So if you're not giving me music, I really don't care if you're a band or not.
It's a lot of time to forget somebody.
Yeah, no kidding. All right. Thanks, everybody. Listen to this album if you want to do so.
Yeah. So with that, he's been Brad. I've been Josh. And we've been 2 decades too late.